What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you a Legacy deck that is centered around the combination of Darkrai and Sableye, and this is technically Hammer Time, but like this isn't the Hammer Time that really was like... Okay, so this is... So this is like Hammer Time, but it's not the Hammer Time that... That's not true Hammer Time. This is like Hammer Time, quote-unquote, with Darkrai offense, as true Hammer Time is just Sableye for Crushing Hammer, for Lost Remover, and then Garbodor as well. Just literally shut down everything from your opponent. This version at least is like, okay, I'm just going to disrupt you until I can get set up, then I'm going to start attacking. So that's really what this deck kind of is. Hammer Time with Darkrai offense. But before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. And let's just do more cool stuff for you guys. And as for the question of the day, just going to go with my typical one that I go for with all my Legacy videos. And that is, anything cool happen to you guys this past week? Or do you have, well, or do you have any plans for this upcoming week? For me, studying. This past week I was studying. This coming week I'm going to be studying, and even right now I'm taking a break from studying. So that's literally all I've been doing recently. Just no rest for the weary. Just always got a book open, got a PowerPoint open, got my notebook, taking more notes. It's the life I chose, and it's unfortunately what I'm going to have to stick with at this point. But hey, in the future I'm going to be a doctor, so that's hopefully going to be worth it at that point. So yeah, let me know anything cool going on with you guys in your lives. Put that in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have got going on. But anyway, onto the deck. Like I said, it is centered around the combination of Darkrai and Sableye. Sableye with the Junk Hunt attack. I mean, we do have Confuse Ray, but we really don't use it all that often. Normally using Junk Hunt, put 2 item cards from your discard pile back into your hand. The most infamous combination of those is with Crushing Hammer and Enhanced Hammer, but in this case, Lost Remover just completely outclasses Enhanced Hammer in the Legacy format, because like you're never going to be able to get any special energy back from the Lost Zone, but with especially Plasma decks, they can get energy back from the discard pile. Well, they can get special energy back from the discard pile with Ride and Knuckle from Thundurus. So Lost Remover just completely outclasses Enhanced Hammer in the Legacy metagame anyway. So Sableye is basically there, just you throw that thing up there, disrupt your opponent, also recycle like Dark Patches in order to get Darkrai set up on the bench, and then you just kind of go to town once you have 1 or 2 Darkrai set up. That's really just the whole basis of this deck. And Darkrai with the Dark Cloak ability, each of your Pokemon that has any darkness energy attached has no retreat cost. That is phenomenal. And then Night Spear is the attack we're focusing on, does 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon while doing 90 damage to the active. It's the original bench sniping attack. So this is an older deck. This is not a deck that really has withstood the test of time even in the Legacy format, just because Darkrai doesn't hit as hard as it needs to in a lot of cases in order to be able to succeed. I mean, this deck is still a pretty solid deck, but things like Rayquaza, Landorus, Genesect, all those things outclass Darkrai because they're able to take big one-hit knockouts. Darkrai is literally just a deck that is centered around getting 2-hit knockouts, and that's all it does. That's all it really can do. I mean, you do kind of have Absol there as a backup attacker, as a non-EX attacker, take out the Suicunes and Sigilifs that can have a bigger attack if your opponent has a full bench. Then Mind Jack can do 120, 140 with the Dark Claw. So I mean, there are ways of getting bigger attacks. It's just Darkrai as the main attacker is not fast enough to deal with a lot of the more tier 1 Legacy decks, as it were. But you know what? This is a deck I haven't done yet. I'm going with it. And then we're running Mr. Mime to keep us from being sniped on the bench, getting our Sableyes just kind of weakened, getting our Darkrai's weakened. And then Keldeo for the Russian and retreat. If it has a Dark Energy on it, it's able to retreat for free, so we go with that. 1 Absol, just because it's really only for Suicunes and Sigilifs. 4 Darkrai, because it's a main attacker. We just want to keep getting those things going and, well, get those things onto the field and get them powered up. 3 Sableye, because it's the starter we want to start with. It's the starter we want to start with. It is the Mon we want to start with, so we want to have enough of those early to be able to use Junk Hunt, but also they're good late game in terms of recurring resources that you might need. Mr. Mime, like I said, for bench sniping, to prevent bench sniping, and then one Keldeo for rush in and retreat. As for the items, one Computer Search as the ace spec of choice, just because, I mean, the discard drawback of Computer Search really is somewhat mitigated in this deck, particularly with the fact that you like having Dark Energy in the discard pile, though it's a resource for you for Dark Patch, and then also Computer Search with Sableye, you're able to Junk Hunt for it. So you're able to use Computer Search more than once. 2/2 of Crushing Hammer and Loss Remover, because this isn't a full-out Hammer Time deck. This is just kind of a... somewhat Hammer Time. It's like, Hammer Time with a little bit of Darkrai in there. It's Hammer Time early on, and then it goes offensive after that, so we don't want to dedicate too much of our deck to the disruption. For Dark Patch, to power up our Darkness Pokemon as quickly as possible. For Dual Ball, because everything in this deck is a basic, so not having to run Ultra Ball means we don't have to discard cards, which is nice. One Energy Search, just to kind of turn into an energy. This is a way that we can, like, bring it into our hand and then Junk Arm away, just kind of thin the deck just a little bit for that. 3/3 of Laser and Virbank, because that's another way of getting damage on the board for this deck that this deck so desperately needs. 4 Junk Arm to reuse stuff that's in our discard pile, also get Darkness Energy in the discard pile. 2 Pokemon Reversal, because we might want to, like, knock out an eel and snipe another eel, for instance, bring up Landorus while hitting Trubbish on the bench or setting up. Just basically, there's so many situations where you are wanting to bring up something and then start sniping on the bench, maybe buy time, stuff like that. 2 Random Receivers so that Junk Arms can turn into a supporter in the right situation. 1 Tool Scrapper to turn off Garbotoxin, because our deck is pretty reliant on abilities. I mean, not overly, but I mean, having Free Retreat and then Rush In and also Bench Barrier is very, very, very nice in this deck. 4/3 of Juniper and Professor Oak's New Theory, or Pont, however you want to say it. Just Juniper is the best supporter for this deck, because you don't necessarily mind the discard part of it, and then Oak and for shuffle draw and for mainly late game disruption, because you really would rather have Juniper or Pont early game. 2 Dark Claws just to boost the damage output, help the numbers a little bit, and then 10 Darkness Energy, because that's what this deck runs on. So fairly straightforward. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Let's go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against Crime Boss SS57 with a deck that I honestly have no idea what he's running. Yeah, just looked like a bunch of types. We do win the coin flip, so we will get to go first. That is very, very nice for us. And we start with a whole lot of nothing. So there's that. My hand wouldn't have been bad if I did have a Mon to start with. I mean, granted, really would have liked to have other things to be able to, like, throw into the discard pile, like Darkness Energy, so that I can activate Dark Patch and stuff like that. But it's really not the end of the world right now. And yeah, we'll just go ahead, take our mulligan right there, see what we can get. We get Darkrai, so that's pretty nice. And wow, I get some very solid stuff to work with. Get an Energy Search, which will allow me to throw an energy in the discard pile. I have Dual Balls to be able to search out more Mons, like probably Keldeo and Sableye. Well, there's Sableye, speak of the devil, and my opponent has Suicune, so I'm gonna need to rely on Laserbank in order to take that thing down, or Absol. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and Energy Search, grab the Darkness Energy, and then let's Dual Ball. We do get 2 heads, so that is really nice. Let's grab Absol, and I want to grab another Darkrai, or do I want to grab Keldeo? I think let's grab... Nah, let's grab... do I want to do it? I don't know. Darkrai. We're choosing Darkrai. That was intense, guys. I'm glad we made it. I'm glad we were able to make it through that together. But I grabbed another Darkrai just so I have stuff to Dark Patch onto, and then this actually is not bad, because I do have the Virbank, I have the... Well, let's see if I can Dual Ball again. I get 2 tails, I mean, just as well. I got 2 heads. Kind of wish I grabbed the Keldeo, because I got another Darkrai. So what I'm going to do is just attach to this active Darkrai, and then I think just end the turn right there, save the Random Receiver for later. And yeah, my opponent does have Keldeo, so if he gets a Float Stone, he can rush in and retreat. But by the same token, I'm going to slowly be trying to get Absol powered up, so then I will be able to take out the Suicune with that and won't just be stuck. So opponent plays down Tornadus. I think, well, Lost Remover definitely is going to come through incredibly clutch, especially with that being played down. Interviewers' questions, that's interesting. Does get DCE and Water Energy, so that's something. Looks like my opponent is just going to rush in with his Keldeo. If he doesn't have a Float Stone, then he's probably just going to leave it there for the time being, which, I mean, kind of makes sense overall. However, unfortunately for him, I do have another laser, so I'm going to be able to hit that Keldeo. Let's see if I can get like a Sycamore or something like that, or a Juniper, sorry. I get the Juniper, so let's go ahead. Do I want to... You know, I think 2 Darkrai's will be enough in this matchup, because Absol will also be another attacker. And I do get a Dark Patch and an Energy. So this was actually a pretty nice turn for me. So what I'm going to do, play the Keldeo down, play the Energy onto the Sableye, and then I'm going to manually retreat into Sableye. Dark Claw up my Darkrai, or do I want to hold on to that? Do I want to Dark Claw at the Absol? I might want to. Nah, because with Laser Bank I should be able to knock it out. And then let's go ahead and Dark Patch up the Darkrai, I think. Or the Absol. Which do I want to do? Let's go ahead and go with the Darkrai, because it'll be able to hit for some more damage on that Keldeo, just put it in a better spot. So, what I'm going to do right now, let's Junk Arm, get rid of the Random Receiver and this Darkrai to grab probably the Random Receiver as well. Okay, my opponent just forfeits, so we take those, I guess. I mean, I'm assuming my opponent saw that I was just going to be able to get set up a little bit better. That's the only thing that I can really think of, because, well, I mean, if my opponent saw that I was, like, Sableye reliant, he could have assumed that I had Lost Remover, which would have completely destroyed, like, the DCEs, the Plasma Energy, all that stuff. So, yeah, that was a short first game. Let's go ahead and try to find another one with this deck. Alrighty, we have got another one against Ernsten21, and it might very well be a mirror match. Wondering what... I mean, obviously the normal could be Smeargle, but we do unfortunately lose the coin flip, so I guess Tails does fail, even though it never fails. I mean, like, why would people say Tails never fails if it has a chance to fail? I mean, that just logically doesn't make sense. But I do start off with some solid stuff. If I can draw into a Darkness Energy, then I'll be able to Dual Ball, Junk Arm, discard that, get that in the discard pile, Dual Ball once again, and my opponent... Okay, so this... Guys, I think we got a mirror match. I really do. So my opponent is going to be able to... Well, he plays Great Ball, so that tells me a little bit more than I really wanted to know. And fails it, unfortunately, but that's what happens when you run Great Ball, and he judges. Why? I'm sorry, that makes no sense. That really does not make any sense. But luckily, I do draw in to the Random Receiver, so even if I get a... yeah, so this is definitely a mirror match. But unfortunately, I get the Random Receiver, which I'll definitely be able to play, and then also Random Receiver again to Junk Arm to throw the Darkness in the discard pile. Well, I get the Juniper, so I might... You know what? Let's just go ahead and do this. Because, I mean, I just want to be able to Junk Arm this turn. And, okay. Well, this is bad. Let's see if I can land the Crushing Hammer. I do not. Please get heads off of this. So there we go. And what I'm going to do is just Junk Hunt, grab the Random Receiver, and I think the Crushing Hammer. Yeah, so this is where we try to start hammer timing. Please stay asleep. That was a very bad first turn for me. Nope, my opponent, of course, wakes up. So my opponent is going to end me right here, but at least I'll have these guys back in the deck, so hopefully I can draw into... hopefully I can get a supporter off these 6 cards, and hopefully my opponent isn't able to pull some shenanigans where he's able to knock out my Sableye. Water Energy comes down. That's interesting. In the Tool Scrapper, honestly, not a big deal. Sableye wasn't going to be attacking much. I was just kind of putting it on there to potentially bait the Tool Scrapper, and also because, I mean, I didn't want to draw into it. That was kind of a dead card at that point to draw into because it wouldn't have got me anything else. And here we go. This is the type of hand that I am talking about. We do see the Crushing Hammer, so my opponent gets heads. Of course he does, because, I mean, why wouldn't he? And, alright, so here's where I can start doing some stuff. So what I'm going to do, first things first, is I'm going to Energy Search, grab a Darkness Energy. Then I'm probably, well, let's go ahead and Computer Search, get rid of the N and the Darkness Energy so that I can activate my, whatchamacallit? I can activate my Dark Patches. Grab Dual Ball because I want to be able to Junk Arm for them. We get 2 heads, so let's go ahead and just grab 2 Darkrai. Or do I want to grab Darkrai? You know what? Because we're up against a Darkrai and my opponent is one Darkness away from attacking, I'm going to go ahead and grab the Mr. Mime. That way I'm not going to be hit by any bench damage, and my opponent actually just concedes, because what I was going to do was Junk Arm, throw the other Darkness in the discard pile, and the Oak, yeah, it would have run me a little bit shorter on supporters, but then if I had drawn into a couple Dark Patches, I could have played both of those and gotten going, and hopefully drawn into a Virbank and a Crushing Hammer that I would have been able to just recycle with Junk Hunt. So I was kind of excited to see how that game would play out, but unfortunately my opponent just decided to scoop when things were finally starting to happen, so there's that. But yeah, not done yet. Let's go ahead and try to find another one with this deck. Alrighty, we have got another one against DW24 with, alright, this is going to be a good one against, looks like it's going to be Rayquaza, oh, it's going to be Ray Eels, there we go. For whatever reason, I was just completely blanking on the name. And this is actually going to be very difficult because I am running a more offensive version of, of Hammer Time. If I was just running straight, like, full stall, Sableye, Garbodor, Hammer Time, I'm pretty sure I would have no problem with this because all I would have to do is just have Garbodor shut off my opponent's abilities, and then I'd be able to easily win, and my opponent even gets to go first. So this is going to be a very, very uphill battle. Like, this is going to be a very rough matchup, and this actually will kind of be perfect to illustrate why Darkrai fell out of favor, because decks like this were able to withstand the onslaught because of more powerful and bulky attackers, and then things were able to one-shot Darkrai. So anything that was able to one-shot Darkrai relies on a lot of 2-shots and bench damage, and yeah, that can hurt, that can get the Eels, especially if you would be running up against an Eel deck that had the 30 HP Eels, but unfortunately the 40 HP Eels are run in the best versions of this deck, and yeah, my opponent gets literally the perfect setup. I mean, that could not have been more perfect. Got an energy down, got 3 Eels down. Luckily I do get 2 heads on my dual balls, so this is gonna, let's grab Mr. Mime just because I need to discard something, and I really don't care about Mr. Mime. So let's go ahead and Junk Arm. And the reason I grabbed Mr. Mime was because, I mean, 1, I wanted to discard stuff, and 2, Mr. Mime wasn't going to be doing anything in this matchup anyway. So yeah, let's go ahead and Dark Patch onto the Darkrai. Like, if I can get, like, if I can get a Night Spear off turn 1, then I might be able to do something. Absol is going to come in very clutch, but Absol is just going to get knocked out immediately, so I have to be very careful. And what I was saying, this matchup is actually perfect in terms of being able to see why Darkrai fell out of favor, because, I mean, Darkrai was a very, like, one of the most powerful decks in the entire format. Like, well, actually, it was the most powerful deck in the entire format because it won Worlds. But unfortunately, when things got more powerful, when things got a lot faster, then there was just nothing that Darkrai could do. So unfortunately, I am starting to draw dead, and there's nothing I can get out of my discard pile that will help that. So what I think I'm going to do is just, yeah, because there's nothing good in my discard pile, I'm going to have to just go for Confuse Ray, try to buy a turn, see what can happen, because, yeah, I mean, I would have liked to have Junk Hunted right there, be able to work with some stuff, but unfortunately I did draw dead, and this, and that, honestly, that turn might be a death sentence for me in this matchup. But regardless, we're going to play it out. But what I was saying, if I was running the version of Hammer Time I'm running right now, is the offensive version. That was the earlier versions of this deck. When Garbodor came out, Hammer Time went more full stall with just Sableye, Hammers, and Garbodor shutting down abilities. And if I had that, then I would have no problem. Like, this matchup would almost be an auto win, because, like, yeah, I'm just getting rid of all of your energy. You can't use abilities, you can't use Dynamotor or anything like that, so there's really nothing you can do. But unfortunately, I'm not, because I'm not that much of a scumbag yet. I'm still a scumbag, but I haven't decided to be that much of a scumbag just yet. My opponent is going to be able to super scoop up, make the very nice play of bringing up a Dynamo to be able to Dynamotor, or picking up the Electric to be able to Dynamotor once again onto my opponent's Rayquaza. And this is, like, my opponent's playing a really cool, like, my opponent's playing this right. I draw dead, so yeah, I mean, this is frustrating because it was already going to be a very horrible matchup to begin with, but if I outsped him, then I might have had a chance. But unfortunately, because I'm just going to be drawing dead, this is going to be a bloodbath. If I'm being honest, this is going to be an absolute bloodbath once my opponent gets going, because, I mean, I missed an attachment. I have absolutely nothing to go on. The only thing that is even remotely keeping me... Well, the only thing that was remotely keeping me in the game was the fear of confusion, so that was working kind of in my favor. And finally, I get some stuff that I can work with. At this point, though, unfortunately, my opponent's going to be able to knock out my Sableye. And yeah, now, I mean, he's pretty much set up. He's going to have multiple electrics in play, which will allow him to Dynamotor with impunity, and takes the first prize. So the fact that I couldn't even take the first prize is just even worse. And this is, yeah. So this match is going downhill fast. I'm still gonna play it out, because, I mean, you never know what could happen. But this match is not going well. I can get a knockout on the Rayquaza with my Absol and then just kind of pray. Yeah, because of... yeah, I definitely can. So I think that might just be the play that I'm going to go for. So let's get rid of the Reversal and the Dual Ball to grab the Dark Patch so that I can Mind Jack. And unfortunately, why'd I promote Sableye and not Darkrai? Crap. So that was another misplay. So I mean, this is just going bad. This is going downhill fast. That misplay of not promoting Darkrai, luckily is gonna not destroy me completely. So what I'm gonna be able to do now is Junk Arm, get rid of a Laser and a Darkness Energy to grab a Dark Patch. Lasers I should be able to recur with Junk Hunt anyway, so I'm gonna keep the Float Stone. That way my opponent can't do like can't just do free retreating shenanigans. He has to commit to something in the active. And then let's retreat Sableye into Absol. Luckily, my misplay isn't going to be affecting me on this turn. With the poison, I will be able to knock him out. And if my opponent's not able to get a Rayquaza up this turn, I think I might actually be in a good position. Because I'm kind of all in on this Absol right now. If my opponent knocks it out, if my opponent knocks out my Absol, there's honestly nothing I can do. Just because Darkrai would be getting 2 hits while my opponent's Rayquaza would be getting Okos. I can't even mess with the damage anymore because of Eviolite. So this is going... I'm technically ahead, but in board state my opponent's at, especially with that Colress. Holy crap. Please don't get a Fire Energy and another Dynamo. Okay, so he gets another Electric. So he gets the Sky Arrow. Putting it... Oh, okay, he's just going to make... Yeah, good play. Go into Zekrom and knock me out. I will be able to knock him out with... And gets rid of my Dark Claw too, damn it. Dang it, sorry. I apologize. So he is going to be able to knock me out, but this will put him in range of Night Spear, even without the Dark Claw. But, yeah, that's a very, very good play by my opponent. Like, I mean, I'm clearly playing somebody who knows this game. Like, they clearly know the game very, very well. Let's go ahead and Crushing Hammer, just in case... Nope, I whiff it. Of course I do. Honestly, I don't think it'll matter too much unless I don't get the I don't think it'll matter too much unless I don't get the unless I don't get a Dark Patch this turn. But let's go ahead and Juniper, see if we can get... Okay, so we get a Dark Patch. Yeah, the Crushing Hammers. If I can get rid of all my opponent's fire energy, then I might have a shot. So let's go ahead and Computer Search, grab a Dark Patch so that we are able to attack this turn and take another prize. And once again, we'll technically pull ahead, but in terms of board state, if you would have told a Rayquaza player, a Ray Eels player, that they would only be down one prize with essentially what can amount to immediately 3 Eels on the field, they would be like, oh, yeah, heck yeah. And yeah, so we are able to take a knockout on the Zekrom. I'm going to start targeting down a Tynamo. Maybe if I can get a knockout on one of those, I can potentially win the game. And Jirachi is going to come up. I wish I would have been able to counter that Sky Arrow with a Virbank. That would have been very nice as well. He does evolve into an electric. And yeah, there's the fire energy. So we're going to see... Okay, my opponent needs that third eel. My opponent needs that third eel in order to be able to Dynamotor for the knockout because he did manually attach the fire for the turn. And if he has the level ball in the discard pile, then he's going to be able to scoop... Okay, Scoop Up Cyclone works even better because he also heals off the damage as well. And my opponent's using... Like, my opponent's playing this game excellently. I'm trying to take absolutely nothing away from my opponent because they are playing this exactly how you should. I'm just trying to tell you guys that this is one of the matchups why Darkrai Sableye fell out of favor, because they are just not able to efficiently deal with big attackers. And sorry about that, clicked in the background for a second. I'm so professional, right? But either way, he will be able to get the knockout, and yeah, I think this is GG. I really think this is GG, because I have a whole lot of nothing. If I can... Yeah, I have to, like, end my opponent while simultaneously drawing into a bunch of stuff. So I have to hit this Crushing Hammer first of all, in order to get rid of the fire energy. Okay, so let's Dual Ball. Get that other Darkrai out of the deck. So I need a good amount of stuff in order to be able to do anything. Let's Crushing Hammer. First thing I need is heads. Of course I don't get that. That's annoying. So I'm just gonna... Please end, please end. No, it's Juniper. So, okay, I'm also getting kind of unlucky, I'll be honest. Like, okay, I think I'm almost positive my opponent would have beaten me anyway, but I'm also getting kind of unlucky in terms of what I have to work with. In terms of, like, what I've drawn and what my opponent has drawn into and stuff like that. Just a little bit. I mean, like I said, I think my opponent would have won this anyway. Due to just, I mean, that's the nature of the beast. That's the matchup. Like, Darkrai does not deal well with big hitters. So, yeah, I mean, you guys, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you want to try to call me out, say I'm making excuses, please be my guest. Go ahead and say that. Or you can take it as what I'm trying to say. And, like, the only reason I'm prefacing this in this way is because I can totally see... Well, it's happened in the past. I've been like, yeah, this deck struggles with this matchup. Like... Say, Volcanion does not do well against Greninja. And I'll have people in the comment section down below say, oh my god, you're so immature, you're just making excuses, your opponent's just better than you, blah blah blah. So, yeah, sorry if I'm a little bit salty about that. It's just very frustrating when I'm trying to explain reasons for things going the way they are, and then to have people like that just be like, no, you just suck. Like, come on, grow up a little bit. But regardless, okay, so my opponent has 2 fire energy in the discard pile. I haven't hit a Crushing Hammer yet. I wasn't able to get heads on... Because, like, if I also got heads and then my opponent flipped tails on that Hypnotoxic Laser, I could have bought myself a turn. But at this point, I don't think... Yeah, at this point... Yeah, because now you can just go into Victini, knock out my Sableye. So the coin flips, not... I mean, I would have... Okay, it would have been, like... coin flips that won me the match if I was able to pull this game out. I'm readily admitting that. But, I mean, my opponent was able to get a perfect setup on top of a very, very, very suboptimal setup for me, to where I wasn't able to do much of anything at all that I really wanted to do. So, the only play that I have right here is to try to put... my opponent's reversal in my opponent's Rayquaza and put that thing to sleep and then keep it asleep. Okay, I get Tails. Yeah, I lose. Like my opponent just wins next turn anyway. So I'm sorry if I was a little bit salty. That's just incredibly frustrating when that happens. I mean, okay, coin flips 9-6. So coin flips were technically, I mean, they were in my favor. Like, it was 60% to 40%. They were in my favor. Just the consequential ones did not go my way. And like the 2 dual ball heads on when I only had 1 in the deck that I really didn't even need to get was an example of like inconsequential heads versus consequential tails. So, I mean, like, ultimately, coin flips are in my favor. I will readily admit that. Yeah, sorry, I'm a twinge salty. I would have liked for that match to have been closer than it was, because my opponent essentially just steamrolled me. Yeah, it would have ended up 2-0 in terms of prizes, but in terms of like how the game state was, my opponent just had control of that game from the beginning. Like, there was no question really that my opponent was going to win, and really at no point during the game did it feel like I had control of that matchup. So I mean, once again, that's why Darkrai fell out of favor. This was still a very, very fun deck to use, and my opponent played that game expertly. Very gigantic props to my opponent. Why does my video keep popping up in the background? I'm sorry. But huge props to my opponent. Expertly played on their part. Regardless, despite my salt, hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.